Welcome everyone. Welcome to the Women's Small Business and Leadership Network. My name is Danny Whitestone, and I am absolutely thrilled that we have success coach Jessica Miller from Brand New You on the line today. And we're talking about something that I have heard a lot of people have challenges with. And I say that because I also had to get over these hurdles in my early 20s for me to get to where I wanted to go in terms of my financial goals. And we are here to talk about mastering a money-making mindset. And by the number of people on the live and in the Zoom call, I can see that also it's a topic of interest. So Jessica, thank you so much for being here with us today to help us all with this important topic.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's an honor to be here with all of you.
So in terms of evolving our mindset around money, can you give us an example of like what not beneficial mindset looks like or sounds like, and can you give us an idea of what a beneficial mindset sounds like?
Yeah, sure. So I think to be transparent, I think we all struggle with money mindset on some level, right? It's one of those things that when I first started on this journey, I was hoping like I would come to a place where I have arrived and I'm over it. And now I could just be, free of the mindset that comes up with money. But the truth is, like, as we evolve, then our mindset around money evolves. And so it's sort of this ever changing, evolving thing. Like you mentioned, I think many times there's different things that we come up against, or different, especially in our businesses, different opportunities, different sort of pivot points where it has something to do with our offers or the money we're going to make. And all of a sudden our brain shows up and there we are with our thoughts around money. So what I often see, or I've seen in my life and I see with my clients, is that there's a lot of unhelpful thoughts that come in, especially before we start to train ourselves to recognize that they're happening. So it might be something like, I don't believe that I can make the money, or I'm not sure if I have something of value that people want, or I could never attain that level of success. We look at, a lot of times we go into this sort of compare and despair, and we compare ourselves to other people, and we look at, someone and we think, oh, Susie Q is like a special snowflake. I could never make that kind of money. And we don't necessarily do it consciously, but something holds us back around money when we have these moments where we're sort of looking and comparing or looking out. Especially if it's something new that we've never done before, that immediate sort of reaction is, I don't know if I can do that, or I don't know if that's me, or I don't know if it's capable. We see this a lot when we are starting out in our business, or if we put out a new offer and we're like, where are all the people? You know what I mean? Are they out there? Or where's the sale? And we think no one's ever going to buy this. We have that kind of money thought. So thoughts like that, when you say them, and I encourage people, if you're listening to this, think about this in your life. What kind of thoughts are coming up? And when you think them, think about how it makes you feel. If you think no one's going to buy what I have to offer, it feels pretty horrible. And what ends up happening is the action or the inspiration that comes from that thought is one of I think I'm going to go watch Netflix on my couch now, right? The impulse isn't if I believe no one's going to buy this, to get out there and make offers, right? It's really stunting. And so what we usually do is we play small, hide, and our result is we don't make money. We don't offer things. We don't make any sales. And then so therefore it validates this thought that nobody wants to buy it. And it's this vicious cycle. So some of the thoughts that we can choose when we're onto ourselves about these limiting thoughts is thoughts that are going to possess the feeling that we want. And so if you have a new offer, or if you're going to start a new business, how do you want to feel about, for instance, putting out a new offer? I want to feel like my offer is amazing. I want to feel like people, are going to get tons of value from it. I'm going to feel empowered to go out there. Okay, well, what do you need to think about your offers to feel empowered? Well, I need to think that there's somebody out there who's been waiting for this. The money's going to come. The money's coming. I'm planting the seeds. I have something of value to offer. People really need me to show up right now. So thoughts like that around your money are the thoughts that serve you. Because when you think there's somebody out there that I need to help or that I need to serve with my offer, what does it make you want to do? tell everybody, right? And what happens when you tell everyone? It's exposure, and then somebody buys, and then you make money, and it validates the thought that people need what you have to offer, and the money's coming. So those are examples of how those sticky little thoughts come in all the time.
Those are incredibly good examples. And as you talk about it, even if you hear the words come out of your mouth in terms of, you talk about those fear messages or fear thoughts, again, which most of us have had, you can, and again, chime in on the feed, guys, if this resonates with you. But that feeling of it, in me, it feels like it feels. I feel it in my chest. I feel scared.
Yes.
I feel tight. And versus like when I'm having, probably had a good snack, got a good rest, and I'm doing something, versus I feel it feels like this expansion in
Yes.
terms of I have, the unlimited possibilities. So I feel it in my body. Is that something that's real?
Totally. We call that the mind-body compass. And a lot of times we're very doing driven people. Like as humans, we're like, what do I need to do? What am I doing wrong? Why can't I make this money? Like, tell me what to do. Like, I don't know how many of you have said that. I have said this. I hired my first coach, like, okay, you need to tell me everything I need to do right now. And she was like, like she was sort of onto it, obviously, before I was. But she was like, if you need me to help you get out of your own way, I'm happy to help you do that. But we're very focused on that. But our body it's a compass. And so when we have those feelings, even when our brain is telling us to do something, like how many people listening to this call have been like, oh, you're right, I think I should do this thing in my business, or you're right, maybe I should do this thing with my kids. And your body's like, no, like it will never lie. Your body as a compass in that way, that following the feeling and doing that when it connects to what your thoughts are is so powerful.
I love tuning into that. It's in it because this tries to override this.
Always. Yes.
Okay, coming back to the mindset, and usually it doesn't go so well. So where do we get these unhelpful where does it come from? Like, how do we end up messed up like this?
Yeah, so part of it, I think, is just our upbringing, society. I mean, like we put in when we were talking about having the session, we talked about these things that we say all the time, like money doesn't grow on trees, or money is the root of all evil, or like never go into business with family, right? Things like that we grow up with them. So I think some of these things are very societal, even around things like taking on debt. Like, debt is bad. Is it? Or is it just a neutral thing that we give some sort of thought to? Like, we get to decide if it's good or bad. Really, debt is sort of neutral. So these things are sort of swirling around, and they're very sneaky. And so a lot of times we have these beliefs, we hold these beliefs around money without even recognizing that we do. And then the other part of it is like, it's just habitual. So, if you're someone like me, who, when things would get tough, I would go into like scarcity crisis mode. Like, if money was a problem, my brain was like, freeze, do not spend any money. Like, oh my gosh, if you have no money, what are you thinking to go consider like paying for help or getting the thing, right? So habitually we start to do that. And in fairness to us, I think in some parts of our life, or in some points in our life, that habit or that behavior makes sense, right? But when we start to carry it over into like every part of our life, and sometimes that's good when we maybe are just starting out and getting a first job in college, where we're like really conserving our resources, and it makes sense on some level. But then as an adult or a business owner, like, does that make sense or not? A lot of times we don't ever even question those things. We're just kind of on autopilot. And when our brain serves them up, they sound really reasonable. Like, if I have no money, why would I ever spend more money? Like, it sounds really logical. But in reality, like, is it? Not all the time.
It can feel really counterintuitive. And I have an example. When I was first starting out in business, like, I knew I needed help to save, to get this company off the ground. I knew I didn't have what it took to get there. And again, that's when I always invest in a coach. And we were broke, like, negotiating with landlords. How can we do this? How can we get by, week to week with this fledgling business, which I know a lot of people can appreciate. Sure. And I found the program that I needed. And it was, back then, it was $500 a month to be in the sales training program. And thankfully, like one of my partners doesn't have like the inhibitions that I do. I'm like, how are we going to do this? He's like, just do it. We're going to figure it out. And if we hadn't done that, like I don't think our company wouldn't, I don't know how, maybe a different way, but our company wouldn't have survived.
Yes.
Even though it was back then, that was like an astronomical amount of money to invest in making that kind of jump. But you have to have something that bridges it, from where you are to where you want to be. And sometimes it takes money to do that.
Yes. And actually, to that point, one of the most damaging thoughts we have around money is that I don't have any of it. It's not available to me. You didn't have the money. You were afraid you didn't have the money, but you came up with $500.
Yep.
Right? So we tell ourselves this all the time. It's one of the biggest things that holds us back from moving into the person we want to be, which is the person who makes money, invests in themselves, and lives in a place of possibility versus probability. Like, you know what I mean? But that thought is one of the most damaging ones, that like, I don't have the money. Like, you may not have it sitting in your bank account, but I promise you, you can come up with it. You could find it and pay for the things that you really value. So it's so interesting that you used as an example, because that's what I would say 90% of the people who are stuck, that's what they believe. And they don't question it. They're like, no, here's my bank statement. I'm like, I see your bank statement. Like, I'm not getting in the river with you. I see it. You know what I mean?
I do.
Yeah, it's a very real thing.
Coach, the first thing he did was hand me Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich.
Yes, exactly.
Read this. I'm like,
great book.
Sounds good, because I want to get there, and I know I can't, because like I'm a hot mess. I know I can do it. I just don't know how.
Yeah, you're on your way. Exactly. Yeah, and look at you now.
Oh my gosh. Let me check the live feed for a second and just chime in and to say some things. And oh gosh, thank you. All about planting in seeds. And some people think we're in people's heads right now. Thank you for that. Love it. Yes, so true. Oh, love you gals. Excellent. Thank you, Amy.
We're all this together, everybody. You're not alone.
Seriously. And again, it's one of those, comes back to that first point in terms of like, oh, well, that person's successful, that person's making the money they want, they must not have this stuff. I'm like, no, we totally do.
Yes. Oh my gosh. You never get, it just evolves. It's just different stuff, right? But it's always there.
Yeah. And I found that you have to keep on top of it too. Because again, I have a wonderful mentor who is just on the cutting edge of like the mind and neurobiology and all this kind of stuff. And basically in just understanding that those messages get laid down in our brains. So like when we are hungry, lonely, stressed, I almost equate it to like water in a channel where like we have those, we have our little things, and then it's like we can keep it in that, we can keep our correct thought in that new channel we laid down just fine. But if something in life happens, it's so easy just to like, for the water to hop in the deeper channel and just like, okay, exactly right. Like, oh no.
Yes. Yeah. From a scientific perspective, I mean, here's like the reality of it. Like as a pharmacist, I'm like such a science geek, so I'm just going to go there. Like when you change your mindset around anything, money is one of them, right? That groove is deep. Like literally your brain is wired in a certain way that you have these beliefs. So when you start to break those connections, you change your mindset. You are literally rewiring your brain. So the reason that the thought keeps coming up, to your point, right, Danny, is that it's that myelinated little neuron, that pathway is slick. So as soon as it gets a chance, right, it takes a lot of effort to kind of take your wheels out of those ruts. And you're like cruising along, and then you hit a bump and you're like, bam, right back into the rut, right? Like the struggle is real, but the more you do it, right, the more you create those new ruts.
Exactly.
So it's like a muscle.
and by the way, this is why I always remind in terms of my mentor always says, the brain's expensive to run. So it's
Yeah.
these kind of things in terms of why I have like the health and wellness part of always built in with this, because it's like, if your brain's not operating, the way you want it to, it's like because you're tired, you're not eating the food to support it. It's like, you can't, it's an impediment to your business success.
That's true. So true. It is so true. Yes, 100%.
And I know I talk to you on your walks and all this kind of stuff. So I know I'm preaching to the choir here.
I do my best work in my walks.
So what is the key to start making that switch? What is the key to start making money? Is there like a secret sauce? Like what is it?
Yeah. So you making money starts and it ends with what you think all the time, period. Some people hear me say this and their mind is like, what are you talking about? And I have to tell you, when I first started, I was like, okay, I'll get back to that after I'm done with my to-do list. But the truth of the matter is, what you think determines your results. And so the fastest way to start making money is to get very familiar with how your brain is showing up when you come to these places that are keeping you stuck. So what thoughts are you having? When do they come up? What is the story you keep telling yourself? Like, what is actually going on there? Because awareness is key. Like, being onto yourself is key. So the first thing is, I would say, is to recognize that the reason you're not making money, or the money that you want to make, is because of something you're thinking about yourself and your money. And the first step is to figure out, what is that? So if you were to think about, something you want to do in your business or putting an offer out, sit down with a piece of paper and say to yourself, okay, I really want to put out, like I just put out a group coaching program. When I first thought about my group coaching program, the thought that came in is like, I've never done this before. Like, I'm not going to know what to do. No one is going to pay for this. And I wrote that down and I started just brain dumping, like, what are all these things, right? So the first thing to do is write down all those things without judgment, so you can see what's going on in your brain in these moments where you're getting hijacked, because awareness is the most important part. Once you start looking at that, then you can start unraveling those thoughts. And the sooner that you pivot in that way, the sooner and faster you will start making the money that you want.
Fantastic. And I love the language that you used in terms of awareness, but you also use the word judgment in terms of judgment, in terms of when your awareness triggers a thought that isn't in alignment with where you want to be. I would imagine, what do you do in terms of, what do you do when people are, I'm trying to get the right words here and the right question, in terms of like being mad at themselves, because that seems really counterproductive.
Yeah, the judgment is a big thing. So your thoughts around something that's happening in your life, now let's just pretend it was like around the group coaching program. And the thought is, I've never done this before. If you say something like, I've never done this before, which is like a neutral thought about your group coaching program, the feeling that comes from that is so different than, don't be a loser, Jess, you're going to be a hot mess because you've never done this before, right? The feeling that comes from that is totally different. So where people get stuck is they think that their judgment is fact. They tell you their thoughts like they're reporting the news, like, I'm a terrible speaker, or no one's ever going to buy my program, or I'm not a group coaching person. Like it's a fact. And I'm like, actually, that's not the circumstance. The circumstance is you want to do this program. The thought about your program is that, like, you're not the right person. So we stay in this place of living in our judgment, in our thoughts, like they're the truth. And that's how they get so sneaky, because they're not a fact, they're a thought. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm a giant geek and I'm like tearing up right now. I'm like, yes, everyone hear this. Yes. Don't listen if you have, oh my God, like I'm literally tearing up. Okay, that's all right. Oh, great. All right, this is amazing. Okay, well, anyway.
And it is emotional. It knows you're hitting a nerve, literally, when you hit the powerful thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah, because like, no, you don't have to listen to it. You can do anything you want to. Oh gosh, you can do anything you want to do. But
Yeah.
definitely connect with connect with amazing women like the Jesses of, like the Jesses of the world, and or anything in terms of people that'll help, just get you above that. Because again, I know you do too. And we have clients that are just, accomplished, beautiful, brilliant, all in different ways and spectrums of emotional and, in mental intelligence and gifts. And you can just see it like, but they
Yes.
can't see it yet. And I'm like,
Mhm.
no, the greatness that is in you guys in this group is okay. Now I'm going to tear up again. Is just so ridiculous that I
Yeah.
want everyone to embrace that 100%. And I did not expect to be crying on a Zoom call. All right, like, so moving on. Let me check the feed. Oh, my second to say hi here. Oh, wonderful. An abundant mindset, absolutely.
Yeah.
So what's the one thing, great, what is the one thing in terms of when your clients, succeed in getting a handle on the money mindsets, like what is the one thing that they're doing that really bridges that gap and helps them get over that hurdle?
Yeah. The number one thing that I see my clients do that separates, like, are they going to make the money they want or not, is when they double down on their belief in themselves being able to do it. The people that really go after those thoughts, like they go after figuring out what they are, they go after reworking them, they go after intentionally choosing different ones along the way, and they really double down on their belief in themselves and them being able to do it. They see the biggest growth. Everything that you need to make as much money as you want is in your possession right now. The most important part is believing that that's possible and going after it. And like you said, sometimes it is hard to do that on your own. Like every single one of my clients, they are capable, they are intelligent, they are driven, like they are badasses. So it is no secret that they could figure out how to do this likely if they went through enough sort of pain and like enough time to figure it out. Like the capability is there. But if you want to do it quicker and faster and with like more oomph, that's when you find people to help you do it. Because it's hard to be objective about your own thoughts because they're yours. And you're listening to them all day long. So sometimes you don't even recognize that they're there.
Yep.
But the people who have like the gumption and the desire to go after it, believe that it truly is their thoughts and they're going to overcome it, make a lot of money. And I see people do this so fast. I have a client right now who's not even halfway through her 6-month coaching package. She has made more money in her business in a pandemic than she ever has in her entire business. And it is amazing to watch her go for it. Like there is nothing like it.
That's fantastic. And just the value, especially because everyone that's on this listening to this, everyone in the group and your clients, they're all value driven, good, all value driven people. So no matter what you're doing, and also like when you put yourself out there for free, that can be great too. But also in terms of when you do put yourself out there and you invest, there's something about that investment, you really have, I guess, what's the phrase there? You skin in the game.
Yes,
In terms of dedication that comes when you do make that reach. And
yes, by far it's a different thing.
yeah,
When you invest, because something is happening in your mind in that moment when you choose to put the money in the game. Like in that moment, you have mastered your mindset around the money, even if you don't realize it, to make the choice to invest. And when you make that kind of commitment and decision, that mindset is actually driving your results. People don't realize it, but if you rob somebody of that opportunity, you rob them of that moment, that pivot point to grow. Now, that doesn't mean that you cannot give value for free as part of your business. I do it all the time. I come on things like this and I believe very deeply in that. It's very strategic, but it also is very much in a way that I know that when I play big and I'm in abundance and when I thrive, every person that I touch can thrive. It's like if you were giving everybody else water, right, to survive, but you were dehydrated and dying, your reach would be so much smaller. Like in order for them to thrive, you have to thrive. So it is so important. We are going through the transformation too. to also allow people to see what is possible when you believe in when you do it. So yes, you have to be invested. Your belief in doing what you're helping your clients do is so important too.
Is that one of the things that that prevents people from spending like investing in a coach and taking that next step? Or what is something that would be that holds us back from doing that?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. I mean, there's usually 3 reasons why people don't buy in general. Like, one is either they don't believe in you as the person to provide what they need, the transformation that they need. So it could be like, I'll just use myself. It could be that someone may not believe in me as the coach. It could be that someone may not believe in coaching, or it could be that someone doesn't believe in themselves to get the result that they want. So a lot of times those could be the reasons for, for not taking the leap or buying coaching or buying whatever it is. But another very real thing is this idea about when it comes to money and investing the money, people oftentimes think they don't have the money. So they'll come to me and they'll say, I really want to do this, but I just don't have the money. I don't think this is the right time. And I'm actually, for me, I'm like, if you don't have the money, now is the exact right time. Like, I am so glad we found each other, because now is the time that we need to work together more than ever. But in their brain, what is being teed up is like, oh my goodness, let's just pretend it's like $500. They're thinking, oh my gosh, I could give you my $500, or I could give $500. And what if I end up with nothing? So like, the worst case scenario in their mind is, I'm going to be left with $0. Losing $500 is the worst case scenario. But what I have to offer for people is that is the mindset that keeps us stuck exactly where we are. Because what's actually at stake when you don't hire the help you need is all of the things that are coming to you that you are letting go of when you invest your $500. So like you were saying, Danny, when you gave them $500, what actually you exchanged that $500 before was everything in your future. Like, it's sitting here today. It's having this group. It's exposing other people to being able to thrive, right? Yeah. So really the downside is letting go of all of that. It's not your $500.
That would have been terrible.
Right?
Legit terrible. I didn't look at it like that. I didn't even think about that. That's horrible.
No. Mm-hmm. But you thought, I need to do this, right? It became more than the $500. But people get stuck on this being the worst case scenario. And actually, you losing $500, that's actually the best case scenario. Worst case scenario is not going all in on yourself and losing everything of what you're looking at in your life right now. And that's the mindset that keeps people stuck.
That's an amazing way to look at that and frame that. That's incredible. What are some things that we've talked about so much, but what are some things that the everyone listening can put into practice to help them get started on making this money mindset shift?
Yeah, I mean, this is something you can do right now, guys. And I encourage you, like, if you're listening to this and you're like, oh my gosh, yes, I need to do this right now. I encourage you to find some time today when you're in that place and really like start to put some of these things into your brain and marinate in them and do them. Like, the first one is, start noticing where you're spending a significant time spending your thoughts. Like, what are your thoughts around money? Like, where are you thinking about that and how are you thinking about it? Because I promise you, if you're one of those people that's right now thinking, I want to make more money, I want my business to come off, why isn't it happening? I guarantee you the place you're spending most of your time is in the why isn't it happening. It's not in the I am, in abundance and I can make money, or money is coming. It's not in a thought that's serving you about money. So the first thing is really figure out, what are you thinking about your money? And sometimes you'll even see this outside of your money. For me, time scarcity was a big. So whenever my brain shows up, it's like, I don't have enough time. And it shows up there 50 times a day. So where are you, like, what are those things? Then write them down. Like I said earlier, really get them on paper so you can see them and see like how they're showing up in your life. And then I want you to take a stab at serving yourself up with a thought that actually serves you. And you can start by saying, like, how do I want to feel about this? And what do I need to think to feel this way? Because at the end of the day, it's the emotions that motivate us, right? You take inspired action from how you feel, but how you feel and what you do come from what you think. So spend some time getting those down on paper, look at what they are, see what comes up, start catching yourself in the act, and then try to turn the dial. Like, what is a thought that serves me better, and see how you feel and see how that changes. Your whole day could change from one thought.
That's incredible. This is the kind of moment where I'm listening, but I think to myself, I cannot wait to go back and watch this video for myself. I know I'm sitting here listening, but this is the kind of thing where you could listen to it 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 12 times, and just get something, get something new, because it's interesting how information too, as we're all evolving, like I would have heard your words very differently 20 years ago than I would have now.
Yes.
So, oh my goodness, great. So what is the best, so let me see, do you have time if I can ask for any quick questions?
Please go right ahead. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Does anybody have anybody who's watching on the live feed or in the Zoom, if you have any questions? I know we just got a lot going on there. He says, let's see. Yes, I'm thinking of a place of, again, a possibility, abundant mindset in turn, and looking forward to listening to this again. We're getting a lot of that. So, but I don't see any particular questions right now. But of course, if you guys come up with them, put them in the comments, and
yeah, we can always go back in and look. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, fantastic. So Jess, thank you. What is the best way for people to get in contact with you if they want to connect with you? I'm so glad I have your number already. What is the best way for people to what is the best way for people to get in contact with you after, if they want to, after they watch this?
Yeah, so I am very laid back when it comes to this. I mean, I think as marketers and, sometimes people are like, oh, they're coming from everywhere. But really, I'm on all the social media channels. I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram. So you can absolutely connect with me there. You can connect with me on my website at Jessica Miller, B as in boy, N as in Nancy, Y. It's for brandnewyou.com. So you can connect with me there as well. And I also have a program that's out right now. It's a group coaching program. It's 6 weeks. It's kicking off on May 20th. And so you can also reach out to me. There's contact there too on that landing page. But, I'm part of this community. I am here to answer any questions. I am so passionate about this topic. Johnny knows I could talk about this all day long. But the most important thing is I am in service to helping people get over their blocks about money and get into belief that you can make as much money as you want, because you can, and you are one thought away from making that happen. So do not hesitate to even connect with me in the group or anything. I'm around.
Oh, fantastic. It looks like we had one question. One question came up is can you touch on how clutter around can hinder your mindset?
Yeah, I mean, so I am not a declutterer and I have clutter, so I can speak from experience. Yeah, I mean, I think our external environment is a reflection of our internal environment. And actually, when I went through coach training, one of the things that they talked about was your sort of like ideal space. And you kind of go through your house and you talk about like, what's the part of your home that you like the least? And then you describe it. And it's very interesting the way that you describe it. And if you use that as a metaphor for yourself, like, so if you say it's like dark, cluttered, and chaotic. And then if you ask yourself, like, what part of me do I think is like dark, cluttered, and chaotic? You start to get very interesting answers. And so the external environment and what you think about your space and what you're doing as you think about your space is very important. And I remember with the coach I was working with, when I was like, I have piles everywhere. Like, what is this? You know what I mean? And she was like, well, what do you think about your piles? I'm like, it makes me feel like I'm a hot mess. But then when I started to think about my piles as in a reflection of my business that was growing, like in reality, I could spend all day, every day, neglecting my family, neglecting my business, and cleaning up all of my piles all the time and having a perfectly organized office. Or I could live the life that I'm meant to live, which includes some piles. But when I started to come at it from that place, my piles were different. My environment was different. It wasn't like I don't have time, so I have piles and I'm in chaos. it was like, I'm making this pile right here because right now I'm going to get on the Zoom with Danny and that's what I'm going to do. And I'm empowered around those decisions. So I would watch what's going on with your environment and your piles. And when it gets to a place where you feel like it's out of control, like ask yourself, what is going on in your head? Like, what is driving this? And how is this showing up in my life? Because that's what it's actually doing, right? And a lot of times it's around like time scarcity or something like that that's making these piles show up. So that's my feeling about clutter, and I do have clutter.
I love that. I'm on the same page. Gosh, I remember, I won't go into it, but I remember like having nightmares about my attic. I didn't like the way the clutter pile was up there. And I'm like, I'm literally having nightmares about like things like in my attic. I'm like,
Yes.
okay, time to do some self-reflection. Let's clear out like literally. And then I'm thinking about the attic. I'm like, oh my gosh. And this is probably symbolic of my head. I'm like, okay, let's address this.
Yes.
Let's address this right now. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So, oh my gosh. So Jess, one more time. What's your website one more time so people know what it is? And
Sure.
I'll put it in the comments too.
Okay. Yeah. It's JessicaMillerBNY.com.
Oh, perfect. Great. Thank you. Thank you everyone who joined us on the Facebook Live. Yay, it worked. Thank you for everyone who joined us on the Zoom. And wow, Jessica, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
That was a lot in a little bit of time.
So good. So good. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I'll make sure their contact information's up so everyone will know how to get a hold of you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Great. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.